Math 2, Unit 12.2. Today we're going to be talking about vertex form. Now, we have been learning, or we have learned about parabolas in standard form. Do you guys remember what standard form was? Yeah. Okay, what was it? Y equals ax squared plus c. Now, today we're going to start learning about vertex form. And vertex form is actually a little bit easier than standard form. A couple things is that, remember how A told us the width and direction when it was in standard form? It does the same exact thing here. Okay, and so the A value is the number in front of your parenthesis. So far, so good? Yeah. Okay, and again, here it tells you whether the graph opens up or down, and if the graph is narrow or wide. Now, they're telling you here that the vertex is h, comma, k. If you notice in here, see how h is in the x value of the vertex? If you were to take this portion and you set it equal to 0, x minus h equals 0, and you solve for x, so I'd add h to both sides, I get x equals h. The x, it's telling me that x equals something. X is going to equal a number, but it's always going to be the opposite of the number that's here in the parenthesis. So if I'm looking at this first example right here, if you were to take this parenthesis and set it equal to 0, so x minus 3 equals 0, you add 3 to both sides, it is telling you that x equals 3. What's 0 plus 3? 3. I know, that was tough. Okay, so I'm not sure why there's not a point here for our vertex, but we definitely need to always state what our vertex is. And so my vertex, the x value of the vertex is 3. Okay? And so that's what they're saying in here. What's in the parenthesis? You set that equal to 0, and that gives you the x value of the vertex. Okay? And so if you notice here, it's basically always going to become the opposite of the number that's in the parenthesis when you set it equal to 0. So here it's negative 3. When it comes out and you set it equal to 0, it becomes positive 3. You don't have to continue doing this unless you forget, and you just know that you set whatever's in the parenthesis equal to 0. Okay, now the end part, the y part, is the part that's being added at the end. Do you see how that's a positive k? Yeah. And the vertex here is also a positive k. So the only part that you set equal to 0 and solve is the parenthesis part. The end part just tells you your y value. So that means that my y value is just going to be negative 1. So that is my vertex for this first parabola. Okay? Are we okay with that so far?
Why is it again? Oh, because it's minus 1.
Yeah, that's a minus 1. If it's a plus 1, it'd be a positive 1. Okay? But it's just whatever, the number that changes is the one that's in parentheses. The one at the end, whatever it is, that's what it is, and that's your y value. Now, remember how we talked about our line of symmetry? For our parabolas, when they're going up or down or whatever, and we're gonna make this parabola here, that's your h comma k, correct? That's kind of your generic formula. If this graph right here, this parabola is going up, my axis of symmetry or line of symmetry is going through the center here. And remember how we talked about the symmetry is what cuts it in half. So if we were to fold it in half, they match up the same on each side. Well, this is a line, and all lines have equations. And so the axis of symmetry, the equation is x equals h. So it's always whatever the vertex x value is what your line of symmetry is, because that point is going through the vertex at that x value. Okay? Do we have questions before I kind of move on? All right, so for this example 1, we have already found our vertex. So let's go make a point at our vertex. So we're going to go right 1, 2, 3, and down 1. Now, the direction of my graph, which way is my graph going to be going? The graph is going down. Okay, is this going to be a wide or narrow or normal graph?
All of
It's actually just going to be normal. And why is it just going to be normal? Because the value in front is -1. It's not bigger than 1. It's not smaller than 1. It's just your average graph. So this is going to be going down. We just kind of curve it like this. Okay, questions so far? All right, domain. So what will be my domain? We talked about this last time. What will be my domain for this function? All reals, okay? And so I'm just going to put my R for all reals there. We talked about range last time too. What is my Y value of the vertex?
Y is less than
Good. Y is less than or equal to what value?
-1.
-1. Good. And it is always the value of the Y of your vertex. That's your starting point. So it's either going to go all the values going down or all the values going up. Now, this is going down. So is this a maximum point or a minimum point? And so they have made a mistake here, but the minimum occurs, it actually should say the maximum occurs when x equals what?
X equals
3. And the maximum value of the function is your -1. So whenever they're asking for your maximum or minimum value, they're actually talking about the Y value. They're talking about what is this maximum or minimum value, which is the Y value on the graph. Okay? And all these questions should have said max or min, so if it has the wrong thing, you guys change it. Okay? All right, so next problem. The first thing that we always kind of want to start with is our vertex. So sorry that it's missing there. So in your groups, talk about what you think this vertex will be and how you know. Okay, so hopefully you got the answer of -3, 2. Why is it -3?
Because you subtract 3 from both sides.
Good, yeah, you would set this equal to 0, and if you take x plus 3 equal to 0, you subtract 3 to both sides, and you do get x equals -3. Our shortcut is that we always know it's going to be the opposite of this, okay? Then we know that the Y value, it's not in parentheses, so it's just that value. So therefore, it is a +2. So let's go and mark that on our graph. We're going to go left 3, 1, 2, 3, and up 2. So there is my vertex. Now, is this graph going to be more narrow or more wide? Narrow is correct. And we also talked about how we can think of this value kind of as the slope. So what do I mean by that? From this point, I would go down to right 1 or down to left 1. And you'll notice that it makes a more narrow parabola. Now, these are not exact points. Remember, they're not exact, but at least it gives us an idea and it helps us knowing that it's narrow versus wide. Okay? So what would be my domain on this problem? All reals is correct. Okay, my range is going to be what?
Y
Less than or equal to 2. Very good. And is this a min or a max value? It's actually a max. Yeah. It's there to trick you. Okay, make sure you really know what you're doing. Okay, so the max occurs when x equals what? Very good. Negative 3 is correct. And the max value of the function is what? 2. Does anybody have questions about this? And how did I know this graph was going down? We forgot to talk about it.
I don't know. Is it negative sign?
Very good. So if you didn't remember, when this has a negative a value, that means you're going down. Okay, do you think you guys can do 3 on your own? Okay, so work together in your groups. I'm going to give you a minute here. Remember to start with your vertex, and you also want to know the direction of your graph. Okay, once you have that done, check your answers in your groups. See if you guys all agree. See if you have the same graph. Okay, so I'm going to pull some 6 here for this one. So double check in your groups and be ready. Okay, here we go. Pay attention. My first question is, what is the vertex? Okay, that is my first question. What is the vertex of number 3? I'm going to pull stick. And Aaliyah, you are the lucky winner. What is my vertex on example 3? Very good. 2, negative 4. And why is it a positive 2? Perfect, and you solve for x. Good. Yeah, that's exactly it. And then negative 4 is not in parentheses. It is just that value. Okay, my next question is, listen up. I don't want to have to repeat myself. Are we listening? Shh. What direction will my graph be going in, and how do you know? I'm pulling a 6.
Michael.
And Michael, you are the chosen one. Okay, what direction? Up. And how do you know? A is positive 1. Very good. When you don't have a value in front, that A value is a positive 1. Nicely done. Okay, next I'm going to graph this. For time's sake, I'm not going to pull someone up to graph it. We're going to go right 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4, make our point. Now, my next question is, will this parabola be normal, wide, or narrow? I'm going to pull sick. Normal, wide, or narrow, and how do you know? Okay? And Chloe. Very good. It's normal because it's a 1. Okay? And so this is just a normal graph going down. Oh my goodness, very good. I tricked you. I don't. Who said it? First. You know what? That's a freebie for me today. Okay, so.
I thought about it. I think everybody should.
Yeah, no, I don't have that much. Okay, here we go. Now, domain. So the correct one is highlighted in yellow. It should be going up. We talked about how it went up, and then I drew it down. I don't know. Glad you guys caught it. Good job. Okay, what is my domain? That's my next question. Don't answer it. The chosen one is Robert. What's my domain? How do you know why it's all real numbers? Domain is your x value. Good. Shh. And as this would curve out, it will end up curving out to infinity. If you plugged in any value for x, you can get an answer, which is why it is all real numbers. Okay, next question is the range. Linda, tell me what the range will be. I would appreciate all the side conversations to stop. Shh. Okay. Range is dealing with what? The X's or the Y's? No. Domain is X's, range is Y. So we're going to have Y. Okay? Now, is the graph going up or down? Up. So that means it's going to be greater than or equal to, because all the values on the y-axis are going to be going up. So it's greater than or equal to. The y value where it starts at is what? That's the x value. Remember, ordered pairs go x and then y? -4. Okay, a lot of you are being super rude. Okay?
I know, I told him already.
Shh. So you guys might be losing Mix It Up Monday next week if we can't handle being quiet. Okay? So this is the y value. You notice that this is the y in your vertex, and so the range is always going to be, depending on how your graph is going, y either greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, and whatever the y of the vertex is. Okay? Now, minimum. Does this have a minimum or maximum? Anyone can answer. Minimum. Because this one has a minimum value because everything else is bigger. Okay? Now, the minimum occurs when x equals what, Denise?
When x equals 2.
Very good, 2. And what is the minimum value of the function, Christian Myers? So yeah, so the minimum value actually is the y of the vertex. It's what goes to the y-axis. So in this case, it will be what? Perfect. Yes, Matt. Because they want you to draw it, you need to know if it's wide or narrow. I can't hear you. People are talking. They're being rude. You're right. A lot of you could figure it out without the graph, but part of it is also making the graph. Okay? If it's curving up, then everything's bigger. If it's curving down, then it'd be less than because everything's smaller. Yes?
Wait, how do you know if it's wide or narrow?
Your A value. So if your A value, listen up. Shh. And if you go back to the 12.1 notes that we did our first day, if the number is bigger than 1, like 2, 3, 4, that makes it a wider graph. A narrow graph, because it'd be like you're going up 5, right 1. Okay, so it'd make a narrow graph. Where if it's a fraction, like 1/2, 1/3, whatever, then that will make it a more wide graph, because you'd be going 1, 3. Does that make sense in each direction and make it a wider graph? Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, moving on to the back side. Let's do a few of these together. Okay. Vertex. What is my vertex of this problem? I'm going to draw a stick. And Simran, what is my vertex on example 4?
-2, -1.
Perfect. -2, -1. When I set this parenthesis equal to 0, I get x equals -2. The y value is always a value outside the parenthesis. Okay, my domain on this problem, but before I do that, what direction is my graph going to go? Up. How do I know?
Because it has a +1 in front.
Very good. So that means my A value is +1. So not only is it going up, but what is it going to be? Wide, narrow, or normal?
Give me normal.
Normal is correct. Okay, so our vertex, we're going to go left 2, down 1, make our point. And it's just going to be a normal graph. So we're just going to kind of draw that normal. Not too wide, not too narrow. Okay, my question is, what is the domain? Francisco, do you know what the domain is?
All real numbers.
Very good, all real numbers. We know it's all real numbers because I could choose any value for x and I would find a value for y. Okay, at some point this parabola will end up hitting every single x value. Okay, my range. Jordan, what will be my range on this problem? Good. Y is greater than or equal to -1. We know it's greater than or equal to because at this value, everything is going up. So it's starting at y equals -1, and then it's bigger. Everything else is greater than or equal to -1. Does this have a minimum or a maximum value? It does have a minimum. What is the x value at the minimum point? -2 is correct. And what is it was actually Asia. She's not in our class anymore. What's the minimum value of the function, Hannah? Perfect. So this value of the function is always the y. So that value is at -1. Questions? Okay, number 5. Okay, be ready. I'm going to ask some more questions, starting with our vertex. Please tell me what the vertex for this problem will be. Sarah. Very good. 1, 4. Again, it's the opposite of what's in the parentheses because we'd set this equal to 0, get x equals 1. Okay, this graph, will it be going up or down? Down. My a value is -1/4. So that means my graph is going down. Okay, also the fact that it's -1/4, what does it tell me about the width? It is going to be wide. So we're going to start with our vertex. Right 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4. And since this is saying 1/4, from my vertex, I'm going to go like slope. Down 1, right 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, left 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are not exact points, but it gives me an idea of how wide this graph is going to be. Okay? And so you can see that it is wider. So I just went from the vertex. I know it's going down, so that's why I went down 1, right and left 4, to give me an idea of the width. Okay. Next question is my domain. What will be my domain on this, Caleb?
Y is less than or equal to 4.
That is for the range. What's my domain?
Domain, all real.
Very good. Domain is all reals. Perfect. And we know it's all reals because why? Caleb, why is it all reals? As the graph goes out, it'll hit every x value. You could plug in any number for x and get an answer. So that's why it's all reals. It will always work for any x value. Okay? Now, range. What is my range? Devin. Y is less than or equal to 4 is correct. Why is it less than or equal to? Shh. Very good, because the graph is going down. So all values are less than or equal to that point. Does this graph, are there minimum values or maximum values? Maximum. So we want to change each of these to max. Okay? What is the x value when the maximum occurs? The question is for Caillou. What is the x value? Very good. 1 is correct. And what is the maximum value of the function? Matt. Perfect. 4. The maximum value always goes with where our vertex is, okay, which is at 4. Okay, last one, number 6. Vertex. What is my vertex? Josh King.
5, -3.
Good. My vertex is 5, -3. Again, we set for the x value, set equal to 0. It always ends up becoming the opposite of what's in parentheses. This one, not in parentheses, stays -3. Direction of my graph is going to be what? Cathal.
Oh, God.
Direction of my graph.
Number 6. Direction up.
Okay, how do you know it's going up?
Because the number is positive.
The a value is +3. Very good. Okay, my next question is for somebody else. Will this graph be wide or narrow? He's no longer in my class. Joseph. Will be wide or narrow? Narrow is correct. Okay? The bigger the number, the more narrow it gets. And remember, we talked about slope, how he go down 3, right 1, and left 1. Okay? So you can think of this as 3/1. So let's start by graphing. We're going to go right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 3. It's going up, but we're going to do our slope of up 3, right and left 1 to give us an idea of how narrow it is. Okay? My domain on this function is what, Connor? Yes, which means what though?
All real numbers.
Very good, because I could choose any value for x and I get an answer. Okay, so this will end up spreading out to infinity. Okay, my range, my next question, my range is what, Carlos?
Y is greater than or less than -3.
Greater than or equal to, good, -3 is correct. Okay, next question. Is this a max or a min problem, Albert? Is it maximum or minimum? Very good. Minimum is correct because everything else is bigger, so I don't have to change those. Okay, next question is, what is the x value when the minimum occurs? Kyle, what's the x value when the minimum occurs? Very good. +5 is correct. And what is the actual minimum value? Sydney. -3 is correct. Do we have any questions?